Okay, so I've started the recording. I was just wondering if one of the participants can quickly give us a recap of what was discussed yesterday. Maybe Jyotirani Deviji, would you like to quickly share some key points about what was discussed yesterday, if you're able to do so? Just some main points we are looking at. Are you there with us, Jyotirani ji? Okay, I am not sure if Jyotirani Devi ji
Yes,
is.
madam. Yes,
Okay.
madam, I'm here.
Yeah,
Yes,
I thought it would be good. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
actually, madam, yesterday's discussion was started with the concept of how in Vedas, especially Rig Vedas and Manusmriti and all, concept of grammar and this jurisprudence and these systems are there. Then madam has mentioned one term about dharma corpus, and about Harappan panchayats and all, na? About that knowledge system regarding the structure during that and regarding the system of governance during that time. That discussion we have done yesterday, which sharing of different points of different participants from various parts, those who are participating here. Then Madam has also mentioned about those village setups in ancient India, how grammar or village comes as the first and foremost initial institution of administration and all. And like and we have concluded our lecture uh, with the quote of Margaret Mead and with the concept of Margaret Mead, as Madam has told yesterday, who is an American anthropologist, cultural anthropologist, and her experience on Papua New Guinea. But this is how we have concluded. Just I'm summarizing, Madam. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Jyotirani ji, I want to know the meaning of your name before you put your mic off.
Yes, Madam. This is completely an Assamese word, juti. So juti is a type of flower. But there are two terms in GT. In our table, in our letter table, we have two types of jaw. One we call Borgio jaw, and another one is Ontostho jaw. This Ontostho and Borgio, this is on the basis of pronunciation of our words. And my name, it reflects about a kind of flower, and it is purely an Assamese name.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for summarizing, Jyotirani ji. Now we can start today's session, Tanya ji. I think today we are going to extend our discussion to the Indic frameworks of local governance and administration, and we are going to talk about the local customs and practices in Indic local governance. Yeah, so we can start.
Yeah, thank you. Nitiji, I don't have much slides to present today. In between, when I have a slide, I will put it up. In the meanwhile, I'll just go through certain points verbally. So yes, I'll quickly start with what is today's points of discussion. So we have, as I mentioned earlier, we have multiple epigraphical evidences all over India that you find stone inscriptions that we call them. And there's this wonderful work that has been done by Sri Sandeep Balakrishna. He runs this very wonderful website or blog that I would say. It's known as Dharma Dispatch. So that link can be shared in the group also. And Dharma Dispatch has been taking a very nuanced and very objective stand on our historical as well as the medieval period, as well as the current contemporary period, from points of governance, points of religion, points of multiple facets that he goes into. It's a mine of information. This is known as Dharma Dispatch. It's a website. You can just type Dharma Dispatch, Dispatch, and you'll just be blown away with the amount of content that is there, and all quoted from the original sources. That is the pattern also that is followed by Meenakshi Jain ji and other wonderful, historians that we have that present the Indic way of thinking. So these epigraphical evidences that we have, I'd just like to quote one from 1012 CE under the Chalukya king Vikramaditya V. So there was a village that they name as Umachige. It is now somewhere near Yellapura in the south, the Chalukyas, wherever they ruled. It was a great educational hub. That is what is mentioned in this inscription. And there were 104 Mahajans. Mahajans that we hear that last name even now. This village was entrusted to these 104 Mahajans of this village. They conducted the temple administration, imparting education, feeding the ascetics or the sages, water supply, punishing criminals, etc. The king only had a nominal say in all of this. So whenever they brought a problem to the king, which went through the hierarchy of the jurisprudence setup that is there, as I mentioned yesterday, the king would then take cognizance of it, and then he would refer to the Dharma Shastras and to the whole group of learned elders that always guided him when such issues of any nature come up. And what do the Arthashastra, what do the Dharma Shastra, what do the local customs and all that. Like I mentioned in the last session, that you had Gram Dharma, you had Kula Dharma, you had Shreni Dharma, these were all codes that these people made, which was ever evolving, ever changing. It was never stagnant. That is what the term Sanatan is. It is ever new, it is always evolving. Where did this stop, this evolution? It stopped when the Mughals entered. It completely became solidified and carved into rock and codified when the colonial period during the 1800s. And from that time, there has been no evolution. It is stuck in stone. And now we know what kind of amendments we have to go through and what is the process, what is the issues with all those things. But earlier, it was a very natural process which went through with the entire community coming together and agreeing that this needs to be updated, or this particular tradition or this particular way of functioning has to be done away with, and something new has to come in. So it was totally the people's say in how they would like to update these particular codes or dharmas. And a copy of that would be sent to the king and to all the hierarchy, whoever is there, to tell them that this is what we as a village, we as a family, we as a kula, as a tribe have agreed to in toto. And whenever we bring an issue to you, these should be referred to first and foremost. Secondly, the Dharma Shastras, and then thirdly, the Artha Shastras. So this was the pattern that was followed. And if the king established some kind of, edict in national interest or in the interest of the entire kingdom, then that had to take precedence over all these other 3-4, patterns that are always followed. So the edicts were very rare and very infrequent because the king did not have to perform the role of making new laws. It was always, following whatever is written there, and that worked well for them for millennia. And for even the traditional panchayats nowadays, their particular samaj that they cater to, or whoever has selected them, they know very well that what works in that particular community, and they know those unwritten records, and so they function according to that when people come to them for justice. So this is, and the entire focus on justice was that both the parties have to be satisfied with whatever is coming out. The objective was to find the truth, not to see in whose favor the evidence is more or less, or etc. Whatever. The concept of justice is blind did not exist there. So this is something that we need to keep in mind. I just give me one second. Just give me one.
Participants can check this URL of the website that Tanya ji mentioned in the beginning of the session, Dharma Dispatch. You can click on the URL and check the kind of articles and commentaries, and they have podcasts, they have articles in Indian languages, they have notes on culture. It is run by Shri Sandeep Balakrishnan. He also has a YouTube channel that is very, very interesting. In his YouTube talks, he continues to talk about civilizational issues, culture issues, contemporary issues. So it will be a very good resource for all of you to explore, because the articles and the podcasts that he does, they are very well researched.
Yes. So I'll continue with where I stopped. So as I said, that this was the pattern that was followed, and yeah. So this was one thing that this epigraphical evidence mentions, and the tendency is to believe these epigraphical evidences, because then you have to bring something which will counter this epigraphical evidence. If you can bring it and counter it, well and good. But if it something is already, that is even how the legal machinery functions even today. If there is something in written, it's historical, it is there, then that is taken as the first praman. If you can counter it and say that no, this was done with some ulterior motives, then that is a different thing. But by default, it is to be taken as something which is factual. The other thing that I would like to mention, so there are multiple inscriptions like that. You see the Uttara Merur inscription in the temple in 10th century, it was the Parantak Chola. This deals with village communities and how they chose, the people who will be part of that, set up the Sabha and the Samiti, and who will head it and how they are chosen. And there was a small boy who would bring, this jar of names that chits that had names of all the candidates that the village has put forward. And they would, so the ones who were choosing it were normally sages or, very learned, or people who have nothing to do with societal life. And they are respected by the, like nowadays, how you find the Dalai Lama, right? So who are the people who set out to search for him? Who are the people that go out and, identify the signs that the last Dalai Lama had left? And how do they, coronate that person, and how do they make it? The same thing is followed when people would choose those learned people who will choose the Sabha heads or the Gram heads for the next term that is in place. So these elders, these learned people would sit in front of the village people. Everybody would have very transparent view and see what is happening. They will all gather together. The small boy, any random child from the village is chosen, must be around 4 or 5 years old. He would have the pot of chits in front of him. Everything is happening in front. They go to every villager, and the villager is putting in the chits there. So then he brings this pot and gives it to the elders. The elders would then choose one chit at a time. And in front of the villagers, they will open it and first show it to them, and then they will turn around and call the name out. So that there is absolutely no shred of even disbelief or mistrust in front. That is how it is described in the Uttara Merur temple inscription. What all they did, how they did, everything is also clearly mentioned in this 10th century epigraphical evidence. The same thing you find in multiple the Hoysala, inscription, Hebal inscription is there. Kadamba inscription, which is found at Sorade, and now it is Choradi village near Shimoga. This talks about an ancient village there which practices pranayam and yogic practices. They have absolute control over their senses. They have made a gift of wet and dry lands together, and they have remitted house taxes and family taxes to a village policeman who is in charge of them for appreciating the victory that he found against royal cow lifters. Royal cow lifters, what does that mean? It means that somebody from the king's retinary or the staff were picking up cows or picking up cattle and, taking it and using them for their own purposes. And these people have no shame in admitting that, these things happened. And they're saying that we are appreciating this village policeman because this is what he did, and he lost his life while fighting with these royal cow lifters. So, and what they write at the end of that inscription is that even if the king tries to nullify this order or this gift that the village has made, we will make sure we parade him and cast him out of this kingdom itself. All the villages will get together, and if he tries to nullify and this gift that we have given to the village policeman by our own accord, we will make sure this king does not survive here. This is, and who are putting this inscription and epigraphical evidence? It is the very king, under the king's nose, that these people are putting these inscriptions and making it public. So that is how much which you call state interference was not, and people were not afraid. The king also punished any royal crimes that were happening, and because people's happiness was the ultimate goal, and that was why the king was made a king. The same thing we find in the Ukkal inscriptions around 1000 CE, UKKAL. They have a Sabha or Mahasabha, they have Sabha, Samiti, etc. All these things which are also mentioned in the Vedas. They had special, these committees had special functions. And they were carried out by Perumakkal, which are known as distinguished men of the village. And all the transactions were recorded in registers and ledgers and so on and so forth by particular office people. So what do we find here is that there was a well-rounded system that was set up. People were so, fearless, and they were so dedicated to the cause of village welfare, and whatever, people who are governing it were chosen from a particular, so there was a system in place, there was a model in place, there was a framework in place, which was followed in almost all parts of the country. These kind of inscriptions are all over the country. There is hardly any difference in the setup and the model and the framework that is mentioned in each of these inscriptions. And even you find the same in Kautilya's Arthashastra, as well as the Smriti Shastras, and the Vedas talk about sabhas and samitis and the kings and grama and gramini, etc. I've already mentioned that. Even Mahabharata and Ramayana talk about it. So all these inscriptions, they keep talking about various grants that are given by the people, various supervisions that are carried out by certain people, how public land becomes private land, how the land of that is under the king's oversea can be purchased by merchants or traders or Vaishya community in the villages for common utility purposes, and how do they maintain it, what is the maintenance system. Each and every detail is mentioned there to the T. So I won't go into all those details. One can go and visit Sandeep Balakrishna's website and blog and get more information on these so and so things. So it's very clear that the ancient Indian, village setup and the lawgivers and jurisprudence that was followed, the model and framework, was basically that the customs and usages of the people was to be documented, was to be taken as it is by the king and by the people, because there's almost no such record which shows that any of these particular codes that were developed by the particular kulas or jatis or the villages, etc., was in any conflict with what is there in the Dharma Shastras. In fact, there is a very brilliant scholar. His name is Robert. Not able to get the last name. I either remember the first name or the last name. This is always happening with me. You'll have to pardon me for it. I'll share that link in the group as well. Also, Brajudulal Chattopadhyay. These are two wonderful, researchers. Robert Lavier, that's what his name is, and Brajudulal Chattopadhyay. So these two, I'll share the links in the group as well. Robert Lavier, in fact, argues that all the dharma corpus or the dharma shastras and smritis, they are actually a record of all the customs and usages that have been in prevalence, and they are just making a note of it. And they are making a note of what actually works, what does not work, what should be taken as a universal truth, and what can be something which has universal principles, which can be applicable at every time, every situation, and every kind of situation that one is in. So these timeless principles is something which the Dharma Shastras, like I'll talk about Katyayan Smriti. Katyayan Smriti, and also there are a few other smritis that one can take a look at, Parashar Smriti also, where they talk about the diversity that is there in customs and usages, but not too diverse. Like he talks about in the north, so in the north, he says that the Brahmins, when they perform a certain rite or ritual, they do it with this hand. But in the south, the same ritual and rite is performed, but they do it with the other hand. But both these are acceptable. So there was no imposition that ours is better or yours is better. Whatever seems appropriate, whatever works for you, whatever has developed over a time, is particularly fine. That's according to the smritis that we see, the Bodhayan Smriti or the Gautam Smriti or the Katyayan Smriti. The second thing that they mention in their books, and you'll see a lot of similar quotes even in Manu Smriti, that where they say that in certain parts in southern India, there is a practice of the maternal uncle marrying the niece and so on. And this is written in those books, and that means thousands of years before also it was a practice. They say that this is something which might look odd to this particular community somewhere else in the country, but if that works for them, we leave it as it is. We are nobody to comment as long as it works, and if it needs to be changed, it will be changed by the people themselves. And we see that that is happening as an exception now. It's almost going out of fashion, and people develop, people evolve. You don't see the same things being going on and on forever and ever. That is one thing. Then they also mention about different diets that are followed by the different Brahman communities in the north, east, south, and west. Some are okay with eating non-veg even during religious celebrations, and some don't. It depends upon the local diet that is available. And so all of them, they enjoin on people that this is something which is the diversity, and let it be as it is. So everything is acceptable. We are nobody to tell that we are better off or they are better off. As long as they are being good human beings, they are serving the society, they are following whatever is, so on and so forth. They are not sitting on a high pedestal and giving some kind of knowledge to these people. On the other hand, you see that so the customs and usages were an inextricable part of the life of the Indian community. And it was an injunction on the ruler that he had to first and foremost adhere to whatever these customs and these law of the land that the people have submitted to him. It is his first, because he's not there to, because the people are not there because the king is there. The king is there because the people are there, and they have chosen him to make sure that they are happy, they're progressing in their life, and they are moving upwards and achieving the highest purusharth, which is dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So that is what the king has to facilitate in all spheres. And the precedent was, when people come to you with their problem, that is when you have to take up the issue. Otherwise, if they can sort it out within themselves, you leave it to that. The king did not interfere with the village courts. In fact, he also gave them quite a great sanction to even conduct certain criminal cases. So we see many such examples also, where if there is a criminal in a particular village who is not able to be caught by the people, it is taken to the king. The king then takes the acts that what we see even today of attaching his properties, confiscating the properties of the particular person in question who has allegations on him. We see that happening even today. And once that was done, that was considered to be a very great, kind of setback, and the criminals would turn themselves in. These are also mentioned in many inscriptions that one can take a look at. Yes, so coming to this, what was...
Just to interrupt you, are you sharing your screen in any
No,
case?
not
Because
right.
we are not. Okay, yeah. I just got confused with that. Yeah.
Yes, so this is something that I wanted to present verbally. There is no such slide that will have just the same words that I'm telling you. So this is something that, is the spiritual side of the civilization. It has been mentioned by many great, people in their books, even the Britishers and even, many other European scholars who have studied India very closely. They all say that, the value of the spiritual side of the civilization uh, is very difficult to be understood by a man of the 20th century, because the frame of mind that they are currently in, under, the influence of the current thoughts and narratives and environment and all those, uh, but it is undeniable that the spiritual culture, which is undeniably even now present uh, in every phase of the traditions that we see being performed even till today, whether it's governance traditions, whether it is religious traditions, whether it is family traditions, whether it is any other economic traditions. You have Seth. Seth is a last name that comes from Shresht. Shresht are the ones who were the heads of guilds in ancient India. The guilds were the group or association of traders or merchants or artisans. They all had their own shrenis. They had their own group of association of these people where they had their own code which members had to follow. It gave a kind of a collective power, which we see even today. We have FICCI, we have CII, we have all these economic chambers that industrialists have developed, and they still function in the same way. There is a wonderful research done on this by K.K. Thapliyal ji. He is a very respected elderly Indian civilization historian and researcher, K.K. Thapliyal. You can Google and you can find all his work on ancient village life, how he connects it to the contemporary scene on the guilds, etc., etc. And Vivek Khanna is another. I think he is associated with Cambridge University, and he's taken out this wonderful paper where he compares modern corporations to the ancient guilds. And surprisingly, most of the check boxes are ticked. I'll share that research document also with the group. Both K.K. Thapliyal sir's work and Professor Vivek Khanna's work, where he makes a comparison of this. So the so all these manners, customs, institutions, etc., these are still found if one takes a very keen look at what is being preserved even today. Now, this is something that we need to keep in mind, that these are the kind of practices that one practiced. And to give us a brief overview, since it's very, very detailed, it's not possible to pack it into these 4-5 sessions of 1-hour sessions. I can only give you a bird's eye view, and I can indicate you to sources that you can read on your own and do your own exercise in understanding it. So we never had these crude type of competitive politics that we observe in the West nowadays. And these systems of the West are also developed over 250, 300 years. They're fairly new. They're literally a baby in the governance system. And it is considered to be something which is in vogue and something which is fashionable, because they have the monetary and the military and the way to catch the narrative and pass on narratives. So we think this is the only way. But once one reads and goes into detail about the alternative governance systems that we had in our country, and see that these are actually universal or timeless principles. You cannot talk about human beings. They change over a time. And it's not only in India that they have changed all over the world. But we choose to believe these 300, 400 years systems, thinking that the West people have not changed in 300, 400 years. What worked then is working even now, right? But surprisingly, we have a different viewpoint when we come to India. We think that any of our systems that or models or frameworks that were in place, the core principles, the core institutional framework, the kind of autonomy that was given to people is not going to work, because surprisingly, Indian people possess, I think, totally, abnormal capacity to change as compared to, I think, the West. So we don't think that we can replicate this because people are totally depraved. So I don't know what is the guiding factor in deciding that, but we don't call Confucius, or we don't call, I mean, China gives, it pumps in so much money to continue its tradition of, of Confucianism and, the Tao's philosophy and all. They set up chairs in foreign universities in the name of Confucius. And they make sure that they are carrying on their tradition, and they very proudly stated their village governance, they are pumping in money like anything. They are not ready to get rid of villages. They don't want to urbanize them. So we have to look at what is driving them and what is it. We cannot replicate as it is, but then see what is the driving factor for that. So we do. I remember Professor Kapil Kapoorji said this very wonderfully, that we don't call Socrates, or we don't call Confucius, or we don't call Machiavelli, or we don't call Aristotle and Plato as ancient, and we don't reject them, saying कि इतने साल पहले बोला अभी कहाँ relevant है. But surprisingly, and we are very fast to dismiss Chanakya or Kautilya or any of the evidence that we have saying it's ancient time. It doesn't work now. So this is a very funny, specific, I think, endemic to the Indian state, Indian country. I don't know what it is. But the other thing that we need to understand is that this competitive election system that came in, we have a lot of critics who have written wonderful books on it, not only Indian, but even people from Europe and, the Western researchers and, the political theorists and analysts. So they are always looking for an alternate system. But here in this country, a lot of people, who are not part of this civilization are looking at our ancient setup to see, can there be an alternative to this? And can we, kind of apply that? Like Arthashastra is being taught in the US Navy, colleges. It's being taught in many other universities all over the world. They also teach the Ramayana and Mahabharata, by the way, not only in religious studies, but also for management, for psychology, for all these kind of things. They look at it from a very analytical perspective. And the mandala theory of Kautilya, the mandal theory, where he talks about enemy state, buffer state, neutral state, etc. You see, to a great extent, many countries are following it. But they won't give credit, of course, but you have to see how they're functioning, and you will understand if you know your own text and if you know your own system. What is stopping us from doing it? That is a big question mark. I will again leave it to the political handicap, who don't want to go forward with it, who have their own, reasons that they have developed and they follow it. Otherwise, what stops us? It doesn't stop us. It's only corruption. It's only, and there's also a theory how corruption's creeped into our system. It came in also during a certain period where you degrade. Nothing can be perfect as it is. It degrades to a certain extent, and then the external factors that come in, they also exacerbate it. And what causes it to still remain now? Well, you don't have a political system that supports you. Do we have a dharmic state now? We don't have. We don't have a dharmic state. We don't have the state which is founded on our principles. The constitution is not ours. The state framework is not ours. The bureaucracy is not ours. These are all foreign imported systems, which were the misses that our governance and our leaders made. And surprisingly, it's continuing even today. But if people become aware and they start questioning and they ask for change and they do any kind of protest. That, like, there are many articles in the Constitution that are, anti a certain community, which people are raising their voice against, and they want it to be changed or they want it to be removed. So there are multiple issues with even the constitutional document, because of course it's a cut, copy, paste thing, and how it gets amended also is a very tedious process. So this is something that we need to keep in mind and see where the reasons were. Yes, that was where we chose to be lazy, or we had some other motives, the leaders, and they did not choose to go ahead with, maybe they didn't know. Many leaders who were at the independence time, they did not know anything about their civilization or their Sanskriti or what are the texts there, or they just followed whatever the British left and went. And it was too new a country. But why are we continuing it today is also a lot of lethargy and inertia on the part of the people to know about their own system, their own heritage, their own frameworks and concepts. There is no market, right now, that where people support. Even Indians don't support this kind of research. They chose to put money into, foreign universities, which do nothing but India bashing for their own personal petty gains. So there are multiple reasons. It's not that the system as a whole is wrong or it's not applicable. We have not even tried to apply it. So how can we comment on it? It's not a dharmic state. It's not a state which is based on our principles. It's not a constitution that is based. So to say that, the system is problematic, no, it's not. It's just that it doesn't have avenues, and there are multiple reasons for it. So once we apply that, once we bring that into execution, and then we see if that fails or works, then that's a different question altogether. It's a very hypothetical question. Can't say much about it right now. What we can do is study the models, study the frameworks, and study and see as our contribution what can be done to bring it into work and execute it first, and then see where the failures or where the situations lack. So yeah, this is the cutthroat election politics which entered into this system that we had earlier. This brought in a kind of, cutthroat competition where you see hooliganism, you see power mongering, you see, a lot of horrible things that happen in the name of elections. But earlier, when you had to select your leaders instead of electing, they were very hard, tasks that you had to complete. You had to be a person of sterling conduct. It doesn't come overnight. It has to be built over your family, lineage, over your personal conduct. 25-30 साल लग जाते हैं, to get that kind of reputation in society, to do something for the society where people will like you, and and then they will put your name across. So it was too much hard work. But elections is easy. You have money, step into it. Doesn't matter you have a criminal record or you don't care about contributing to the society. That's what the Westminster and this election form of governance brings. The corruption starts from there itself. So yes, so that is something that I would like to put across. What else should we discuss in today's times? I think I've covered. So you see, a whole kind of you can set up governance schools, you can set up think tanks that discuss these kind of things, but there are various monetary reasons that people don't set out into this. There are a lot of people outside who are ready to pump in a lot of money to carry on their schools of thoughts. You see, even in the academic framework, like I have taught in universities, the public administration curriculum consists of all Euro-American theories. You don't find any Indian theory in it. It somehow puts out the implication that we were just, not those kind of brainstorming people. We never had our own theories. We never did anything about it. So when you read in the educational institutions, it is all about Euro-American theories. You go into politics, you talk about Greek, political theories. You talk about you see the same Euro-American dominance that is there. So do you think it happens naturally? It doesn't. There are a lot of people pumping in money to it. That is where we lack. That is where we become selfish, and we don't want to kind of go into that, because somehow it's not beneficial. So our today you see that our billion-dollar think tanks and governance schools, they speak in a very sanitized fashion about village autonomy, last mile governance, and so on and so forth. And but this realization is coming to them after they are uprooted the very system that has been following, unbroken from so many millennia. You uproot this wonderful, extraordinary local governance, and then you want to talk about all these very principles that were followed by them in their that was their basic functioning. This is what they have always talked about. So this is something which culture cannot be taught. You can't teach that. It has to come from a society. It has to come from a family. It has to come from self-consciousness. It has to come from awareness. It has to come from being proud of what you are. Unfortunately, all those things, we see the opposite that has been happening, because nobody cares to put the money where the mouth is. So yeah, I think this is where I'll pause for a while, and I'll if anybody has any inputs or viewpoints, or would like to ask any questions.
Yes, Nakulji.
Namaste, ma'am. Namaste, everyone. Ma'am,
Yes.
I have two short questions, or maybe observations. So, first question, ma'am, because I'm not from a traditional background. Though I know simple Sanskrit, I can read shlokas if given in a simple form, or sandhi not done. So, ma'am, I want to understand when we are reading a Dharma Shastra, because it needs training. It needs a certain level of erudition in learning the language. So, and then in English, there are distorted versions. There are versions that may not be completely correct. So, how do we choose the right version to read a Dharma Sutra or Dharma Shastra? For example, there is this book by Mr. Oliver or someone, Dharma Sutras. There's written on the Dharma Sutras. So, is it the correct version or not? So, how do we find that? So, I mean, that is the first question, because even with the Arth Shastra, there are so many versions. Or I will say versions, because we don't know if they have translated it really correctly. And press like Gita Press doesn't publish it, as far as I know. So if you could maybe in the next class, or in the ultimate session, the last day, if you could give us some references of these traditional books which we can follow for our own research purposes. That is the first thing. And secondly, I would like to understand, because you've talked about management theories and public administration theories. So, ma'am, isn't it also the case that some of these theories have also taken our terms, taken our concepts, and appropriated them as English ones, or maybe the Western ones, as Rajesh Malhotra ji has also talked about, the appropriation, assimilation. And because when these new theories, they get some sort of success in the newer times, it is claimed that these theories are superior to our ones, when in fact they are nothing else but a repackaging of our own things. But our own things had Sanskrit names, rooted in our way of life. Now they have been anglicized, fancy terms have been used, like you have just mentioned, last mile connectivity and whatnot. So how do we address that? Because that is also happening on a very large scale.
Yeah. Very good questions, Nakulji. I will definitely share references for Arthashastra and for the Dharma Shastra that you have mentioned, which unfortunately the handicap that we have of not knowing the language that it was originally written in. But yes, we can trust, like in the ancient in Sanskrit, it's called aptas. Aptas are the knowledgeable elders, or knowledgeable people who have written books. So the aptas in today's time, which have been recommended to me, I can share those for reading of participants in the group, both for Arthashastra and for the Dharma Shastras. I think P.V. Kane, I don't know if you've heard about him.
I have heard about P.V. Kane, sir. Yes.
Yes,
But
yes.
actually, his way of writing is, it's not very simple English. He writes in very complex language. So, what I was thinking is maybe some transliteration, or, that kind of thing, so that we can easily reference also when we're writing a paper, for example, in law. So we can reference it easily that way.
Absolutely. I'll share that also, yes. For everybody else's knowledge, P.V. Kane has come up with a 5-volume the history of the Dharma Shastras, I think. I'm sorry, I'm a little terrible with names and with the titles, but I can search and send it later. But yes, the other transliterations that you have talked about, I'll share those also. The second question you had was about the concepts that were taken from ancient India and put across. I would not say all of the concepts are taken from this, because as I said, that naturally there have been setups that have come up all over the world in a natural setup. Like I talked about Jethro and his Moses' conversation, right? In the book of Exodus, they were Jews, and Jethro came from a community which was Druze. I don't know if you've heard, the Druze are being attacked right now in Gaza. These Druze are also considered to be kafir according to Islamic theory, and so they are being attacked. So Moses' father-in-law was a Druze. He belonged to the Druze community. Now, if you see the Druze community, this also has very ancient etymology. Like, Dios, the Roman god of the sky, is actually coming from, a certain name from the Indian panthology of gods. So these Druze people, if you go to Wikipedia also, just a very common reference, you can go there and see. These Druze people actually, they have, these religious texts that are called the epistles of sacred epistles, which they follow, which is there, like the Torah is for the Jews, the Bible for the Christians, and for this. The Druze are mostly pagan, as in the term that is used, and they are still existing today. The Druze have 3 epistles of wisdom. One of them is called the Indian epistles. The Indian epistles of wisdom is something which is taking ideas from, of course, from India. And Jethro is passing on Panchayat theory to Moses there. But am I saying that it is taken from India? No, I'm just saying, I'm being very neutral in saying that these natural traditional setups would have come up in all countries, and people found it acceptable. People found it, something which can work for them. So I would like to take it as that the other concepts of the Mandal theory, yes, this I would like to put across, that you don't see this Mandal theory being talked about in any other text, whether it's Roman, whether it's French, or whether it's, Russian text, or any other text that you get to see. This theory is only mentioned in the Arthashastra. And the US, Navy College, etc., are studying it. This is no secret. It is very well mentioned there. And they follow that concept of creating a buffer state, creating an enemy state, creating a neutral state wherever they see, competition, and imposing their, governance principles there. And that doesn't come from the Arthashastra. Whereas Kautilya says that if a king takes over a new land, and there are also conditions that are stipulated there. When do you do? When the people of that particular kingdom, trahimam chila rahe hain, or from the stronger king, they're asking for help to get rid of a despondent, kind of debauched king. Like Chanakya overthrew the Nanda dynasty because people wanted it, people were fed up of it. So if a neighboring kingdom asks you for that, and if you're a stronger king and the people want, the happiness of the people is in that, they will go and overtake that debauched or discontented king. And then there are many other things that I mentioned. When do you go out to war? What is the reason that when both are equally strong, what kind of policy do you take? Then there's a double policy approach, and so on and so forth. So yes, so that doesn't come where kind of what you do is when you take over a new kingdom, you leave the people as they are. Their customs and usages, let them follow it as it is. You will not impose your personal beliefs or your kingdom, rules on those people that you have recently, have come under your kingdom. So, but the theories are followed, Indian theories, whatever has been taken, the Mandal theory, and certain economic principles also, which Kautilya talks about in the Arthashastra, You see it still being, talked about and followed in many economies that we see around, even the US to a great extent. There are many papers written on this, like how the US economy follows certain, kind of things that are mentioned in the Arthashastra. And they compare them to economists that have given theories and how they are similar. So the US follows that, but to its very own benefit. Like a free market. Kautilya talks about a free market also. He talks about a state-oriented, certain domain where the state has to be, kind of dominant, because nobody is able to put in that much money or set it up. And then when it is set up, then you leave it to the people or to the merchant or the business community to make sure to take it forward in a certain way, which we see about privatization today, deregulation, privatization, and so on and so forth. So this is something that we see happening. But yes, Abraham Maslow's theory, if you look at it, you can very well resonate it with the Purushartha concept that we have. And but Abraham Maslow inverts that. He takes, karma, or he takes, those karma concept first. It starts from that, the basic needs of man, and he moves on to self-actualization. But the theories have tried to be understood by them, but then they have their own limitations where they're not able to understand the deeper layered aspects, because their society is not similar to ours. Similarly, our society is not similar to theirs. And so when you take it as it is, and when you invert it according to your own prejudices and biases, then you end up forming, like later on, Abraham Maslow went back on many of his, that pyramid, that hierarchy that he makes. And he says that, but it was unfinished work. The father, this is also a book I will share in the thing, Abraham Maslow's last book that he wrote. Yeah, he went back and then he said that, it doesn't start at any particular stage. Anybody can be born at any particular stage, and then how do they move up or how do they move down is a kind of a different thing. So if you try to compare that, you will see glimpses of all these theories that people are using across the world have been mentioned in our texts in a different manner, in a more deeper, nuanced manner, which I said, as it is mentioned, because of the Deshkal and Parasthiti that we are in today, because of our minds not able, don't know the language, we don't see that, replicate all across us. So therefore, we're not able to grasp that. We think this is something esoteric, something exotic. It's not something that, is true. But all our Devis and Devtas are all concepts, which requires a deeper, nuanced understanding also. They are not people standing with swords or venas or this. Everything has a symbol. Everything has a, in our concept of things, arts, arts and crafts were never separate. Arts, governance theory, Natya Shastra, these all focused on the same kind of principles that are universal, and everybody is looking for happiness. Every being is a divine being. Everybody is looking for happiness. That is the ultimate goal. Like Kautilya says in the Arthashastra, Sukhasya mula dharma, dharmasya mula artha, arthasya moolam rajyam, rajasya moolam vinaya, and so on. He goes on for so forth, the sutra, which means that everybody is looking for sukha. And you see this in all the texts. The ultimate goal, whether it's devtas, whether it is human beings, they're all looking for happiness. Happiness is not that which is defined by the United Nations, the happiness index. That is a very materialistic, economic based. Everything is, looked at from a perspective that is monetary. But we looked at first the upliftment of the people. That is the Indic perspective. When a person is at his happiest or best, he performs to his greatest extent, and he will be, contributing in the greatest possible manner. If he respects his country, he respects his people, if he is happy, if he is it was the goal of the governance to make sure that people feel that happiness. And people also had to contribute. Like, we are a duty-based society. We're not a right-based society. We are a knowledge-based civilization, and we are serving, our value is serving. So if I fulfill my duty as a sister towards my brother will then do his duty as a brother to me. So my rights are fulfilled when he he does his duty, when I do my duty, his rights are fulfilled. That is how it is. It's not an absolute concept. So it is a circular motion. We are always a circular people. Even our time concepts are circular. They're not linear. And we believe we deteriorate with time, but then we always manage to reclaim, and then we come out with another yuga, which then again starts the yuga cycle. Like we see, we are getting frustrated in today's times. We want to, why are we even here to even understand the traditional concepts? Because somehow we are disillusioned, and we want to bring back certain things which were golden, heritage, and why we were such a great civilization that everybody wanted to come and invade and loot and be a part and do business with us and so on and so forth. What was it? Now the next task is to get it implemented, these frameworks and models, and make it into a state that is actually doing it, not a foreign imported state machinery that we have right now, which is the reason for a lot of unrest and frustration and corruption that is there. So these are something which, like Fred Riggs talks about, the ecological approach. He studied China and Japan, which you call Southeast Asia. And he understood that there is an ecological approach to administration, and he gives a huge theory of it. That is good to understand that why we need to take a ecological civilizational perspective in the first place. He is one of the administration theorists that we study in administration curriculum, public administration. So these are some things that customized solutions have to be applied to civilizations, but coming organically from them. And when you don't make an effort to understand them, when you don't make an effort to even bring that into place, you see frustration all around. There's no sukha. There is no good place that you exist. So it's a very long thing, but I would request you to look at all the theories that we come across from the West, whether it's America, Euro-American, or whether it is, our own, etc. Once we have a Indic lens of our own, systems, then we can critique, or we can look at these theories and see where is the matching that is happening, where do they deviate, and how is it functioning in their place? Is it a success? And then if we apply it as it is, so it goes into a very analytical zone, but one has to know their own before critiquing the other. Like Bhartri Hari says in Vakya Padya, that who is that person who only knows his own tradition? We also should know the other people's traditions. But in today's times, as Professor Kapil Kapoor says, we only know the other traditions. We don't know our own traditions. So what kind of human being is that who knows only the other traditions and not their own? This can never have a well-rounded perspective on anything. So that's why I think we are also moving into understanding our own. If that answers your question, Nakulji, or you want something more?
Nakulji, has Tanya ji answered your question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And
Thank
please
you.
share the ma'am references also for my future
I will.
purposes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions from anybody, or any insights or any points you would like to put across?
Yes, participants, if you have any other questions, we have time to take them. Jayashri ji, Jyotirani ji, Poonam ji, Sanjogita ji, I'm calling out names. Suresh ji, Varsha ji, Virendra sir, Yogita ji, Manjushri ji. Any questions, observations, insights from your end? You can also type in the chat box. Or you can raise your hand and unmute yourself. Anything that you would probably also want to share from your experience of living in a village or visiting a village, that may also be helpful here. Okay, I think there are no questions as of now. Maybe we can invite Varsha ji to once again recount her experience of visiting Ralegaon Siddhi, because when she was sharing that, there were people who had not joined. So Varsha,
Yes.
you can briefly share that. Are you there with us, Varsha ji? Okay, I can't see Varsha ji. Maybe she's.
Varsha ji, you're on mute if you're talking. I don't think she's there.
That's okay. That's okay. So I think we have successfully concluded. Okay, there was some question. Okay. I would like to learn. This is Jayashri ji's question. She would like to learn more about the Mandal theory and its relationship to the power dynamics of today's world.
Join my Arthashastra FTP.
Yes, that would be better because that is where it will be discussed in much detail.
No, I'm joking. I'll send the links of the Arthashastra text, which you can read on your own also. And if you feel like joining, then I'll have it probably next year sometime, the Arthashastra course. So you'll be updated about it.
Yes, Jayashri ji, so you can keep checking the WhatsApp group, and Tanya ji will share some references with me. And I'll pass it on to each one of us. I think some of the authors that were mentioned today, Robert Lavier, Brajadulal Chattopadhyay, Vivek Khanna, and K.K. Thapliyal. I've noted these 4 authors. I will go to Amazon and check their books and post them in the group. But Tanya ji, in case there are references that you would particularly like to share,
So I think
these
L.
authors
Ranga.
you can do.
Yes,
Actually, Neetu ma'am, Tanya ji defining the things in a very well mannered, and so we are trying to learn from her.
Thank you, Poonam ji. Means a lot.
Yeah, no. Yesterday also and today also. You are defining the things in a very well mannered, really. I am learning too much from you.
Thank you so much, Poonam
It's
ji.
my
Means a
new
lot.
learning. It's my new learning with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
That's great. That's great. Wonderful to know that you are learning through these sessions. And I want to request all participants that when we start any session, if you give the recap, it will be great so that we can make it more participatory. So today we are grateful to Jyotirani Devi ji. She provided a wonderful summary. We hope that tomorrow Nakul ji or Jayashri ji, any one of you can provide a summary of today's session. So yes, so far we have covered 3 topics. We started with how Indic local governance systems find mention in the Vedic corpus. On the second day of this FDP, that is yesterday, we looked at what is the basis of Indic governance as mentioned in our Itihas and Dharma Shastras. And in today's session, Tanya ji covered and gave examples of some local customs and practices in the context of Indic local governance. In tomorrow's session, we are going to talk about contemporary local governance institutions. We have been talking about panchayats, constitutions, judiciary, our election mechanism, and how we can compare these with ancient Indic local governance. So I think this is a very useful and important session because we are always thinking about how it was and how it is today, and what are some gaps that we can think about, we can study about with respect to current institutions and current administrative practices. So let's regroup tomorrow at 7 p.m. Thank you so much, Tanya ji, for another wonderful session. Maybe tomorrow we can do a quick summary of everything that has been covered for the last 3 days. And I'm really looking forward to the last session where we want to discuss local governance, Indic local governance practices in our classrooms through the Indian Knowledge System module as is being implemented in NEP 2020. And recently, I think there are some new UGC guidelines that have just been released. I didn't have a chance to. Yeah, there are new UGC guidelines on publication requirements that now recognize and include IKS. So I think this is great, because in this session also we were discussing how we have to talk about the implementation aspect. So let's take it forward tomorrow. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and staying on patiently with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Shubh Ratri.
Yeah,
Namaste.
thank you so much, everyone. Namaste.